You know, sometimes the biggest stories, the most powerful ones, are found in the most unexpected places. Today, we're not cracking open some dusty history book. Nope, we're looking at something much smaller, but honestly, just as revealing, a single newsletter from 1 month, May 1985, that tells this incredible story of a community's youth movement right here in Singapore.
And this is it. This is our guide for today. It's the Munira Miyampam, which means progress, newsletter from the Youth Wing of the Tamil Representative Council. Think of it as a time capsule, you know? It just perfectly captures this moment of incredible energy, ambition, and community spirit. And through its pages, we're going to see exactly how they pulled it all off.
So to really get to the heart of this movement, we need to go beyond just the official reports and articles. And tucked away inside this newsletter is something really special, something personal and just full of passion.
Yeah, this isn't a press release. This is an actual diary entry from a member named Sumathi. It's this raw, emotional account of what it actually felt like to be on the inside of this thing. This personal voice, well, it gives the entire newsletter its soul.
Sumathi just comes right out and says it with this powerful line, a phenomenal growth. That really sets the stage, doesn't it? This wasn't some small, quiet club. It was a dynamic, exploding organization that was making a real, tangible impact. And its own members could feel that momentum. So, what was the secret sauce? What was driving all this growth?
Well, first and foremost, it all came down to a deep, serious commitment to education. This was the absolute bedrock of the Youth Wing's work, investing in the minds and the futures of the next generation.
And their approach? It was absolutely brilliant. See, they didn't just help the students with things like the home tuition project. They also ran workshops for the administrators. They were training their own volunteers, building a quality organization from the inside out, from the top down. So smart. And the scale of what they were doing was just massive. I mean, they offered everything from primary school help all the way up to A-level prep in really crucial subjects. They ran workshops for 12 different centers and even held seminars at NUS. The reach was just incredible. But here's the thing that really stands out. They understood that education wasn't just about passing exams. They had a much broader definition. A talk like this one, on Mother Goddess worship, shows they were just as invested in exploring cultural and historical topics. They were nurturing a truly well-rounded identity. Okay, so they had the serious academic and cultural programs totally locked down. But that's only half the battle, right? How do you build a real, living, breathing community? How do you create those bonds that go way beyond the classroom?
Well, the answer was simple. They did it through the universal language of sports and social events. They totally got the power of play in forging friendships and creating a real sense of belonging.
And just to give you a sense of the scale here, they decided to organize a soccer tournament. So how many teams do you think signed up? 54. Just wow. 54 teams, which brought over 800 young people together for a single day of fun, competition, and community. Think about the logistics of that for a volunteer-run group. It's staggering. This was a massive event. And of course, behind these big numbers were incredibly dedicated people. The article actually mentions the organizer, a Mr. Anbalagan, worked so hard that he had a sleepless night before the tournament. That's the kind of personal passion that was fueling this entire thing. So we have education, we have sports. The third crucial pillar was this vibrant, non-stop celebration of arts and culture. They made sure that heritage and identity were right there at the forefront of everything they did.
And I love this. This work started with the youngest members of the community. They held storytelling sessions for kids. It's such a simple but powerful way to pass on language, values, and a love for culture from the very beginning.
Their cultural calendar was just packed. Seriously, from evenings of traditional song and drama to dedicated music nights to huge family day celebrations, they had something for everyone. They even put on an international youth show to give new talent a stage.
So you might be wondering, okay, who was making all of this happen? An organization this active doesn't just run itself. Let's take a look under the hood at the engine behind it all, the leadership, the membership, and the structure that made it all possible.
Well, for starters, their membership drive was a wild success. The newsletter mentions their goal was to get 1,000 members by the end of '85, and by May, they were already at 850. Clearly, this was a group that people were excited to be a part of.
Now this table of leadership changes, it might look a little dry, but it's so telling. This wasn't a static organization run by the same few people for years and years. No, it was dynamic. New leaders were constantly stepping up, bringing fresh energy and ideas. And that is the sign of a really healthy, sustainable community.
And their strategic thinking went even deeper. They weren't just focused on the central committee. They were actively training their grassroots leaders through these regional seminars. This was all about building capacity for the long term, making sure the movement would thrive for years to come.
And that brings us right back to Sumathi's diary for a final piece of wisdom. She reminds everyone to remember the priceless contribution of the generation that came before them, the fathers of today's youth who sacrificed so they could have these opportunities. It just shows this deep sense of gratitude and historical awareness.
So looking at this newsletter one last time, it's so clear that it's more than just paper and ink, right? It's a snapshot of a community at its absolute best, a youth movement built on education, camaraderie, culture, and a powerful shared sense of purpose.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. You know, in our digital age of online groups and social media, what can this tangible 40-year-old piece of paper teach us about what it truly takes to build a strong, passionate, and lasting community? Definitely something to think about.